This is a video about overcoming addictions. I haven't seen it yet. We'll watch it together. If you're struggling with anything out there, believe me, there's a way to change your circumstances. You're not addicted, it's just temporary. Let's take a look.
Imagine someone trapped in a cycle, fighting the same battle every day. They wake up determined to change, but by the end of the day, they've given in to the same temptations: lust, pornography, drinking. It's a cycle they desperately want to break, but it feels like the more they fight, the more they lose. That's because it happens to so many of us. Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman Japan ever saw, wasn't born with iron discipline. He struggled too, facing battles that went beyond the sword. But he discovered
Look at this. One of the strongest people, Miyamoto Musashi. This is his method, and you have the same brain. I have the same brain. We have the same hardware. It's like a computer. You have the same hardware, which is the physical components of the computer. We all have the same hardware. We're all human beings. It's a software that we need to interpret and install to shift or change our current matrix or web of identity and personality. The cool thing is the brain, the body is so malleable. Okay, it's not rigid. It's not like a statue, and it's fixed. It's malleable. It's like clay. But these are super highways of networked connections, synaptic connections. Actually, when you repeat a skill, let's say if I'm swinging a baseball bat, okay, or I'm sword fighting, or I'm boxing, you're creating super highways of neural networks in your brain. So you're hardwiring your brain. Your software is now turning into hardware. And this is happening at all days, at all times, in any given moment. And when you give up that skill, when you forget it, when you don't do it, that superhighway doesn't become a superhighway anymore. It's not an interstate in your mind in those synaptic connections. It's just weak. And so you suck at it again. So you have to use it. You have to sharpen your tool, your mind. Life is a never-ending game. You get to grow and develop all days, all times, all weeks, all years, under all circumstances. This is what being human is. There's so much to do, so much to work on. Let's find purpose and direction back into our lives, and we hyper focus on that. That should direct you from your stupid addictions that aren't serving you, your family, your community, your self-worth, etc. Let's find out Masashi's method to quit addictions.
a way to conquer his mind, not just his enemies. In this video, you'll learn how Musashi's method helped not only him, but also someone else who struggled with addiction, and how it can help you finally break free from your own cycle. Part 1. The power of mastering your mind. Musashi wasn't always the disciplined, unstoppable force he's remembered as. Early in his life, he struggled with control, both over his emotions and his impulses. Like many of us, he found himself reacting to life instead of mastering it. But over time, Musashi discovered something crucial.
I heard something when I was watching sports psychology videos, and it says when something happens out there, don't react, respond. React is allowing your emotions to overtake you. Response is not listening to your negative emotions and responding to the moment, not being trapped by it. So when something happens, remember, don't react, respond, which gives you that brief pause between your emotions, and you can basically resist that, temper yourself, and respond accordingly through rationality.
True mastery doesn't start with the sword in your hand, it starts with the mind. He realized that the real battle wasn't external, it was internal. His greatest enemy wasn't out there, it was inside him. Once Musashi understood this, everything changed. He began to train his mind, controlling his thoughts, managing his impulse.
Guys, this is an art, and I want you to see it as a samurai. This right here, when you retooled it, this is like doing inner warrior shit. This is cool. This is the coolest thing you could ever do. We need to bring back more pride in building our minds like warriors. This is the great art of life. And I want to make it a cool thing. I want to make it a culturally iconic thing. Let's get it, baby.
And developing a mental discipline that allowed him to overcome any obstacle. Now think about someone else who was trapped in a different kind of battle, a person caught in the grip of addiction. This person knew they had a problem, but like Musashi, they were focused on the external battle. They tried to quit over and over again, but kept failing because they didn't realize that the real fight was happening in their mind. It wasn't just about resisting physical urges. It was about retraining the way they thought, the way they reacted to stress, boredom, and temptation. Both Musashi and this individual discovered that the first step toward victory wasn't conquering the addiction itself. It was learning to master their thoughts. This person started small, just like Musashi. They began by noticing their thoughts, recognizing when the cravings hit, and
I'll tell you this: unless your mind's speaking positively to you, don't ever listen to it. Don't ever entertain a thought that is diminishing your self-worth. Always redirect that shit. You're poisoning your own well. You're poisoning your own well, and that is one of the first small steps to mastering your mind. I'm not even close. I'm not even pretending I am. But I will not degrade myself. And I do it unconsciously. I don't believe in myself sometimes. That mind steps in and I act weak. You don't need to act weak, man. You need to act strong and empowered because you're anointed. You're a human being interconnected to something much bigger than you, and you got to believe it. You have to make that an axiom, which is a fundamental belief in ourselves. What axioms are you integrating in yourself to master life? Believe that you are worthy enough and you have the power, that you're merging with this power of life. You have the pulse of life beating in you. So isn't it immature? It's not naive. It's naive to think that you're separate from it all in this small pawn of life. That might be true in one way, but paradoxically, you're integrated with life itself. So let's tap into and harness that power. That's crazy to think about. Make that a part of your axiom so you can show up with belief and certainty that you will figure it out. You will figure it out. What other empowered way? That'll make you run through walls of bricks. Like you feel when you can accomplish the impossible. When there's something in you that feels that you can truly do it. That nothing that's coming your way will destroy you. It's only to recalibrate, rebuild, re-nourish your spirit, your soul, your essence. The juice that you have in you is so vibrant. Allow it to seep back into every fiber of your being. Become alive again. Know that your mind is weak. It will always go to the gutter. If you don't consciously direct it, it will always fall down to the gutter. It'll always make you drift away from purpose and meaning and having the discipline to do the hard things required to build yourself as a man. Just like the physical body, bro. It's painful. No one wants to really go through that. Every day I don't want to go through it, but I go through it. I go through it because my emotions will not rule me. My mind will not rule me. I rule myself. I have dominion over myself. I am the captain of my own ship, not my emotions.
slowly, they started to control their mind instead of letting it control them. Mastering the mind is the foundation of overcoming addiction, whether it's lust, drinking, or any other vice. The first victory isn't a big one. It's those small mental wins. It's recognizing a thought, controlling it, and moving forward without letting it dictate your actions. For both Musashi and this person, those small victories became the stepping stones to conquering their greatest battles. Part 2.
It's so true. Small steps, baby. Small steps. Have the courage to take a small step. When I help people with losing weight, we always start microscopically small. Something that feel like they could do every day that really isn't pushing themselves. But that micro habit, we adjust accordingly over time. So just take one small step back away from what's not serving you. Don't cold turkey it. It's really hard to do. But a gradual process, you'll build momentum. You'll prove to yourself, wow, I did that. Like, Yeah, it wasn't hard, but it was a step in the right direction. Focus on that and just have a million small steps. You get there in the end anyway. And you every time you empower yourself, like, I can beat this, I can beat this, I can beat this. You prove to yourself every day through a small act that you're a winner again. You're winning again. And you'll always be a winner when you try and overcome the body's obsessions.
2. Recognizing the root of addiction. Musashi's success on the battlefield didn't come just from his skill with the sword. It came from his deep self-awareness. He wasn't just fighting his opponents, he was constantly observing himself. In combat, he would analyze his own movements, thoughts, and emotions, knowing that self-awareness was the key to defeating any enemy. The same method applies when facing addiction. Addiction, in any form, is a battle that can't be won if you don't understand the enemy. And the enemy isn't just the addiction itself, it's what's driving it. Musashi would say that before you defeat an opponent, you have to know them inside and out. When it comes to addiction, that means recognizing the root of your cravings. What's triggering them? Is it stress? Boredom? A way to escape from something you don't want to face?
I, it could be a lot of these things, right? Um, life can get really complex and complicated, especially the older we get, right? And so we have certain things that we do to circumvent having to deal with those things. And it's hard. I get it. That's why you really need to create an inner philosophy, new axioms, or a model of reality that serves you and creates a safe space in life that gives you autonomy to be and do who you are. Autonomy is just this ability to not be affected by life or opinion. Full autonomy, baby. That's what we want to create. Full autonomy, baby.
Let's go back to the person struggling with addiction. For a long time, they thought the addiction itself was the problem. But the real issue wasn't the act of giving in. It was the underlying triggers that pushed them there. Over time, they began to notice a pattern. The cravings hit hardest after a long day of stress or when they were bored. Maybe certain situations or feelings of loneliness made the temptation almost unbearable. Once they became aware of their triggers, everything started to shift. Just like Musashi would analyze his enemy's moves before striking, they began to observe their thoughts and patterns. Recognizing the root of the addiction gave them the power to start addressing it. The key lesson here from Musashi is that you can't defeat what you don't understand. To break free from addiction, you need to recognize what fuels it.
Beautiful.
Self-awareness, like Musashi's in combat, is the first step toward gaining control and weakening the grip of addiction. Know your triggers and you'll start to regain power over them.
Let's get it, baby.
Part 3. Developing self-discipline and routine. Musashi's life was built on discipline. Day in and day out, he followed a strict routine that kept his mind sharp and his body strong. He knew that without a structured life, distractions would creep in and weaken his focus. Every morning he practiced, honed his skills, and trained his mind. For Musashi, self-discipline wasn't just a practice. It was a way of life, a relentless pursuit of mastery.
This is absolutely beautiful. This is that discipline and routine. When we're striving up, when we put 80 to 90% of our life in daily striving upwards, remember, when you have a chief aim, a big aim, you'll do things that suck for a long time because it takes a long time to build yourself as a man, right? But that's the work required. And through that process, not only are you creating a better life for yourself, a better quality of life for yourself, probably more success, you're also creating a more quality brain and mind and personality or personal reality. That's incredible. So when you decide to show up to the gym every day, when there is no bone in your body at all that wants to show up, but you do it anyway, you build more resilience and you also build more self-reliance. Man, life is a gift. And I truly still believe, even to this day, that we can become extraordinarily successful by limiting distractions and aiming and striving upwards. Now, where's the fun in that, right? But you know that if you just stay in entertainment all day long and you're not building up, aiming up, and you just stay comfortable, you know deep down you're drifting and you're stagnating. And it's not easy. No one wants to show up every day. But again, you're building out a new system, a new software where it does become second nature in some ways, but you still need to show up every day. It's a struggle for everyone. Look at David Goggins, primo example of a man who doesn't ever want to do it, but he does it because he knows it's always about who you want to become that motivates people to do hard shit.
This concept of discipline and routine is crucial for overcoming addiction. Just like Musashi, who structured his life around eliminating distractions, someone battling addiction must do the same. It's not just about avoiding the temptation to give in. It's about building a daily routine that leaves no room for those habits to slip back in. Think of the person struggling with addiction. They began to build a routine that was anchored in discipline, just like Musashi's. They started their day with purpose, getting up early, exercising, and dedicating time to something productive. By creating structure, they eliminated the chaotic gaps in their day where addiction used to thrive.
It's so true. I mean, you can lay around and think all day and do absolutely nothing and drive yourself insane. If you here, I'll tell you this. If you didn't have any food around and you didn't live in a city and you live in the wilderness, you couldn't be depressed. You literally would have to spend all day hunting for food. You just would be hunting for food. Food would be your number one problem. All the other shit in your head would not be a problem. It couldn't be a problem because you got one focus. So my point is that if we have a system or a structure, what I say is if you're in a rut, dude, quintuple down, triple down, double down on a skill. Like literally start taking classes, start researching it for 10 hours a day, start practicing it for 10 hours a day. Like literally take your entire day, all your free time, and focus on your obsession, a passion project that makes you build yourself in a different way. It doesn't matter how important it is to society, okay? Fuck that. Something that you can do that you enjoy doing. That's going to be hard. But build yourself because that's a win. That can always lead to another road that may orchestrate itself to make you more successful out here. It doesn't matter, but that's how you build yourself. That obsession is how people change the world, by the way. You have it in you. You just have to find the colors in you that you are willing to express through the things you want to create within yourself, within society. Let's get it, baby.
Instead of reacting to cravings, they trained their mind to focus on other pursuits, replacing addictive behaviors with habits that supported their mental and physical health. The key here is consistency. It's not just about avoiding bad habits, but actively creating positive ones. Every day, this person reinforced their discipline by sticking to a routine that gave them control over their time and energy. Over time, these new habits began to strengthen their resolve. Much like Musashi's relentless training made him stronger both mentally and physically. Musashi's philosophy teaches us that mastery is achieved through constant improvement. The individual battling addiction learned this firsthand. Discipline and routine weren't just about staying away from their addiction.
You got this, baby.
They were about creating a foundation for a better life, building habits that led to long-term growth and resilience. When you focus on structure and discipline, you gain control not just over addiction, but over your entire life. Part 4. Facing and embracing discomfort.
Ooh,
Musashi's
this is a good one. This is a good one.
Believed that the only way to build true resilience was to put himself in uncomfortable, even painful situations. He would deliberately embrace discomfort, whether through intense training or by living in isolation. For Musashi, comfort was the enemy of growth. It was in the discomfort that he found his greatest strength. Basically, he was David Goggins way before David Goggins was even a thing. This idea of embracing discomfort is critical. when overcoming addiction. The person struggling with addiction realized that avoiding the cravings and discomfort only made them stronger over time. Instead of running from the urges, they began to lean into them, facing their discomfort head on. They realized
Beautiful.
that the discomfort wasn't something to be feared. It was
Wow.
something to be embraced.
Wow.
It became a signal that they were on the path to overcoming their addiction. Much like Musashi in his training, this person started to understand that each moment of discomfort was an opportunity to build resilience. The craving.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Listen, through whatever habits we have, the body is going to shoot a ton of stuff in us to get that hit again. It could be anything. It could be substance. It could be other bad habits. But this is cool, man. That every craving is a moment in time to face it. And you have to remember, think about it as like running. This is a great example. So bear with me. If you're trying to jog 5 miles, you're not going to be able to do that probably day one. But maybe you could jog 100 yards, and maybe it's like hell to even do that. Your bones are achy, your knees are destroyed, but you wake up the next day and you do it again, and you wake up the next day and you do it again, and you wake up the next day and you do it again, because you resisted the urge to not go do your run, which is like when the addiction feeling comes up and you need that hit. You went running. You didn't just fall back into being lazy and not go running. You took the step to run. And eventually you're going to see how easy that 100 yards is. You'll actually probably start sprinting it. And that's again, I'm no medical anything. So, but in my mind, in my opinion, this is not any medical advice, is when you do resist that hit, it's like you ran that 100 yards. And then when it comes again and you resist, it got a little bit easier. When it comes again and you resist, it just got a little bit easier until one day the craving's not there any longer. One day you're running 5 miles every day. Yeah, is it a little bit of a challenge? Absolutely. But my point is it gets easier and easier the more you do it. That's cool, because that gives you a way out. It's predictable.
The urges, the restless energy, rather than avoiding them or giving in, they sat with the discomfort. They began to see it as a test of their mental strength, a way to train their mind to withstand the temptation. Over time, just as Musashi's body and mind grew stronger through the challenges he faced, this individual found that the more they leaned into discomfort, the weaker the addiction's grip became.
I'll be honest. I started doing this YouTube channel maybe 3 weeks ago, and one of my biggest things, like, there would be a lot of uncomfort each video I do. I was like, there was a huge overbearing amount of anxiety. I don't know why. It was really uncomfortable to start doing these, because I feel like when you do anything new that you're not normally doing, it's uncomfortable. Your mind and body are freaking out. You just think of all the reasons why not to do it. Maybe it's like, people are not going to watch your videos or tell you they suck. People are just going to leave negative criticism. And so you immobilize yourself. But now that I've been doing it for 3 weeks every day, I'm becoming more alive in my videos. I'm more creative in them. It's something I'm looking forward to. Now the anxiety is still there, and I hate that, right? Because I'm a wuss sometimes, but I don't listen to that. I do what I want to do. That's overcoming the body, overcoming the mind, and you realize that all that 99% of it is all illusion. It's not real. It's not real. We need to challenge ourselves into doing things that are scary. They can be easy for some people. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel and it's like you can't even hit record. You're just too scared. Like, just hit record, turn it on, see what happens. You don't have to post it, but just take that small act. Remember that we talked about in the beginning, small acts.
Each time they embraced the discomfort instead of running from it, they took away some of the addiction's power. The mind, like a muscle, grows stronger through resistance.
Amen.
Musashi's philosophy teaches us that real strength doesn't come from staying comfortable. It comes from facing what's hard and pushing through it. For someone battling addiction, leaning into discomfort isn't easy, but it's the path to true freedom. Part 5. The Role of Solitude and Reflection. Musashi understood the power of solitude. For him, time alone wasn't a luxury. It was essential for clarity and growth. He would retreat into isolation to reflect on his battles, both internal and external, using that quiet space to sharpen his mind and strategize his next moves. In solitude, Musashi found not just peace, but insight. Away from distractions, he could focus deeply on his thoughts and refine his approach to life. For someone battling addiction, solitude plays a similar role. The individual realized that constantly being surrounded by distractions, noise, and external pressures only made it harder to focus on their healing. So they began to carve out moments of solitude, not as a way to escape, but as a way to process their thoughts and emotions. It was in these quiet moments that they could face their deepest pain and start to untangle the emotions tied to their addiction. Reflection in solitude gave them the space to address emotional wounds that had been ignored for so long. It allowed them to strategize, much like Musashi did, not just for the next day, but for their overall journey toward healing. The person started to see that solitude wasn't loneliness, it was a necessary part of recovery.
Beautiful.
In the quiet, they could reflect on what was working and what needed to change, gaining clarity about the root causes of their addiction and the emotional pain that fueled it. Musashi's philosophy reminds us that growth often happens in the quietest moments. It's through self-reflection that we gain the insights necessary to overcome our struggles. For someone overcoming addiction, solitude becomes a powerful tool, a time to regroup, reassess, and plan the next step forward. By dedicating time to quiet reflection, you allow deeper growth to happen. It's in these moments of solitude that you find the strength to continue your journey, learning more about yourself and your path to recovery. Part 6. The Final Challenge, Mastering the Moment. Musashi believed that
Ooh.
every battle, no matter how large, was fought in the present moment. He lived by the principle of being present, fully focused on the task at hand. For him, distractions were dangerous, and hesitation was defeat. Musashi knew that victory didn't come from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, but from mastering the present moment, from being completely absorbed in what he was doing right now. For the person recovering from addiction, mastering the moment became their greatest challenge and ultimately their greatest tool for overcoming their cravings.
That's really cool. A lot of times, if habits are good, habits are bad. So if I have a certain schedule where I eat really quality foods, and then I have a certain cheat day where I don't. Now, if I linger that cheat date out to another day, it's a lot easier to cheat the other day, next day, next day, next day, and a snowball. It can snowball for weeks, gain weight, and now I'm on a terrible diet, and my body is addicted to that diet. It's not easy to overcome, no matter how many times you do it. So I'd rather just not get there, for one. But two, if I get there, the easiest way for me to change is to realize not all the bad shit that I did and let that overwhelm me because I'm not the person I want to be. But and then focus. And if I focus too much on the future of like how many steps are required to change, it's just not worth it. And we convince ourselves sometimes. But remember, the past isn't real. The future isn't real. The only real moment is the now, and that's the only thing that you have to control. You have full control over that moment. So all you have to do is really pay. So when you have a craving, it's just not today, not right now. That's the only moment you have to control. And then when you did it today, tomorrow it's the same. It's the same moment. It's the same moment. You just have to say no right now. So if I want to have great abs, which I think I do, that's what I do. It's like, not today. Not today. I crave stuff every day, but I have a cheat day, which is Friday evening, and I'm like, I'll have that Friday evening. So that's my balance. Um, so hopefully that helps. Let's get back to the video.
They learned that temptation often struck when their mind wandered, when they were thinking about past failures or worrying about future challenges. But by practicing mindfulness, they trained themselves to stay grounded in the present.
Oof.
When cravings hit, they didn't react automatically. Instead, they used mindfulness to pause, breathe, and bring their focus back to the moment. Just like Musashi, you too can break free from your own struggles,
Absolutely.
whether it's addiction, bad habits,
Absolutely.
or mental barriers.
Absolutely.
Musashi's path.
Absolutely. And just keep surrounding yourself around other people calibrated to who you want to be, who make you want to rise above your circumstances, who wants you to be a better man. You know, you'll find them. There's a ton of great people out there. But there's a lot of tons of people who want to bring you down or not want you to grow out of your habits, because then you're changing, which makes them feel inadequate. And that's really hard for them. And so sometimes they want to drag you back down. Does that make sense?
To mastery was about conquering the mind, recognizing the roots of his challenges, developing discipline, and most importantly, mastering the present moment. It wasn't about perfection. It was about progress, one small victory at a
Beautiful.
time. Take that first step today.
Amen.
And remember, it's the mastery of the moment that will lead you to victory.
That's it.
Subscribe for more.
Dumb it down. Dumb it down. I'll leave the original video source below. Definitely give these guys a subscription. They're great. This is awesome stuff. Definitely in my wheelhouse of things that I love to watch. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll definitely catch you guys on the next one. Hope this video helped you. If it did, share it if you think it'll help another. Take care.